also record the session if you want to. Generally speaking, written notes are usually the way to go. And lastly, these sessions always come with a 30-day coaching pass. Do you know what that entails?
No, I don't.
My marketing department has failed yet again. Basically, the coaching pass, so again, it lasts for 30 days after each session. And then when you have another session, it refreshes the 30-day duration. During that time, if you have any questions whatsoever, all you need to do is just send me a DM on Discord, and I shall answer your questions as promptly as I possibly can. Just keep in mind the time zone difference. And it's not just limited to text-based questions. You can also send me team fights to look at. So it's limited to one team fight per replay code, but there is no limit to the amount of replay codes that you can send in. So if you played 20 games in an evening, you could send me all of those replay codes, pick out a team fight in each of them, and I'm going to review them for you. Okay?
Okay, yeah.
Excellent. So let's start off with the way that this session is going to be structured, since this is your first, is the first half of the session is just going to be talking. We're not going to look at gameplay just yet, because I need to kind of understand your general situation a little bit better. And then after that, we are going to take a look at the gameplay. So why don't we start off with you giving me a quick little rundown of, where you're at, where you want to be, and why you're here.
For sure. So right now, my rank is Diamond 1. I reached Masters 5 like a week ago or something. So yeah, I play mostly Cassidy right now. I have the most hours on Genji. I think I have like 200 hours on Genji, but I don't know. I found that he was kind of like underpowered, or at least I was not, performing as well as I can with Cass. I played a lot of Overwatch 1. I think I started playing like season 4, played on and off until like season 20 or something. And then I haven't really played any Overwatch 1 except for I think I started about a month ago, maybe a little bit over that. Ideally, I want to get to GM. Anywhere in GM is good. And in terms of like my skill set, like I feel like my mechanics are pretty solid, like my aim and stuff like that. I think my game sense could use a little bit of work because I feel like when like if my team's really stuck and we just have like no clue what to do, I don't really know what to swap to. I don't know what to suggest. And like yeah, if I'm getting like hard countered, there's a lot of times where I'm just like I have no clue what to swap to counter this hero or combo or whatever. And what else? I guess this may or may not be relevant, but I think I have really good static clicking. Because I was top 750 in North America in Valorant, which is a very different aiming game to Overwatch. But I was playing like a lot of tac shooters before. I have like 2,000 hours in CS, like 1,000 hours in Valorant or something like that. So that's why I've been kind of recently gravitating towards Cassidy, because like he's kind of like the standard like point and click.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's about it.
What ranks did you have in CS and Valorant?
CS I was really bad. I was like gold Nova Master, I think is the highest I ever got. And then Valorant I was number 750 on the leaderboard, 450 RR, Immortal 3.
Okay, so you already have like high level competitive experience in one game, basically.
Yeah, kind of. And I played like a little bit of semi-pro. Not like a good team at all or anything, but I guess I kind of have the experience of like VOD reviewing as a team and like call outs and overall like macro strategy and stuff like that.
Okay. So the first question is when you played Valorant, at that kind of semi-pro MO3 level, how much time did you invest into the game?
Maybe an average of 3 hours a day.
Okay. And in the form you mentioned that you currently invest 10 to 15 hours into Overwatch.
Yeah. Recently it's been really inconsistent because like work and school and whatnot, but like on an average day, I think it's been ramping up recently. Like when I filled out the form, it was less because I had more work. But I think nowadays it's probably about 2.5, 3 hours. So maybe on the higher end of that spectrum.
So similar to how much you played back in Valorant?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so here's the first thing. Valorant mechanically is a very, very different game from Overwatch,
sure.
right? A lot of Valorant players don't want to hear this, but aiming in Valorant is actually not that like mechanical in nature, because the only time you really need to do like a sick flick is if you had really, really shit crosshair placement. But if you know how to place your crosshair, if you know how to move and all of that, aiming is actually not that hard compared to Overwatch, where you don't have movement acceleration, where people can just strafe instantly, where you have a lot of verticality. People are all over the place. You can't just, place your crosshair and wait until they walk into it, right? So the mechanical requirement is a lot higher. And what that means is that ultimately the number one factor when it comes to your mechanics is always going to be your playtime. And you said that you want to hit GM. The average GM player unfortunately plays the game quite a bit. So, just to be like transparent, you may have to, find ways to like increase your playtime. Because for GM on hitscan DPS, you really want to aim for, 3 to 4 hours a day, if possible. Got it. Okay. Which kind of brings us to the second topic. So you mentioned that you mostly play Cassidy. But you've also like dabbled on Genji a little bit. In Overwatch, we call those aiming signatures. So we differentiate between hitscan characters and projectile characters. And they're fundamentally like very different. They require a very different intuition, which means that mixing and matching them is not very easy. And especially when, a former semi-professional Valorant player decides to pick up a projectile character, you don't really have any experience on that, right? So you mentioned that you felt like Genji is kind of underpowered. Sorry to put a damper on that. He is not underpowered, but it is understandable that he can be quite challenging because it's a completely new skill set. That said, from what it sounds like, you're more interested in hitscan anyways. Yeah. So I just wanted to clarify that if you are interested in hitscan, you really want to focus on hitscan exclusively. Okay? Okay, we covered that. And then the last topic was the hard counter. You said that, sometimes you feel like you're getting hard countered. So hard countering in Overwatch does exist, but it's more at kind of a team level, where like a certain team comp can specifically counter a specific win condition. But you don't really have that in solo queue, especially not in Masters solo queue. Maybe once you push into top 500 lobbies, you can kind of see people try to pick as a team to counter a specific strat. But below that, you don't usually see that, because below that, people tend to go for comfort picks and just kind of play what they're good at, pretty much. So yeah, when you're struggling in game, it's very easy to kind of just say, "Oh, I'm getting hard countered." My advice to you is to just not think of it as, "Oh, I'm getting hard countered," but rather that there's something that you must be doing wrong. Now this is a big topic, and I'm seeing this like more and more recently. You're using raw Accel.
Yeah, I had a feeling you wouldn't like that. Maybe is that?
Well, can you think of the potential issues or like potential downsides?
I guess it adds another just like dimension to aiming that you have to learn. Like obviously with the static sense, you can reliably, just like my muscle memory know if I move my mouse a certain distance, it'll correlate to a certain, distance on the screen. With raw Accel, you also have to learn if I move my mouse a certain distance, and like also if I move my mouse a certain speed, kind of thing. Also, like depending on the curve, it can be like, I think I have a pretty good one, but it can be pretty inconsistent between like the different speeds that you move your mouse at.
Yeah. By the way, try to stick close to your mic. I think you moved away a little bit there.
Oh, my bad.
There we go. Yeah. So the number one use case, in my opinion, for raw Accel, or actually there's two use cases. The first one is if you just physically do not have a lot of desk space. So there are some people who would really love to use a GSR or QCK or Artisan Pad or whatever, like an Accel one, but they just don't have the desk real estate to use it. So by using raw Accel, they can basically get kind of the best of both worlds, So that's the first use case. The second use case is for aim trainers. So there are certain Kovacs scenarios, for example, that get significantly easier if you have raw Accel. Like especially the kind of 360-degree ones can be really annoying when you use a low sense. The problem is that, that's a very artificial environment, and most of the time in game, you're just not going to, be in that kind of situation very often. And as you've already correctly identified, it just adds kind of an extra dimension to aiming, which might not be great. And it's also fundamentally always a little bit dangerous to rely on kind of additional mouse features like that. Because if you ever have to, swap your setup, or, maybe you need to play in a tournament and they just don't allow you to use raw Accel, they don't want you to, like, just imagine that, like there are quite a few of tournament organizers who simply do not allow raw Accel. Or they have a more generalized ban on installing custom software. They allow you to install like G-Hub or whatever, so you can change your mouse's DPI. But some people don't even let you do that. They tell you to just get your settings on the onboard profile. So it's just kind of a little bit awkward. If you've gotten used to it, obviously it's going to be very hard for me to sell this to you. But I personally cannot recommend it. Ultimately, that's something that you have to decide for yourself. I'm assuming you used it in Valorant as well.
Yeah.
So, clearly it wasn't like terrible for you. It did work pretty well. But maybe in the future, down the line, like, again, you really shouldn't technically need raw Accel in a game like Overwatch, because in Overwatch, you use a significantly lower CM per 360 than in Valorant, right? So in Valorant, raw Accel can be nice because you want to use a really low sense, but then that can make doing 180s like kind of difficult. But usually in Overwatch, you play with a higher sensitivity anyways, which means that you really don't need raw Accel as much.
Got it.
So it kind of depends on what game you're focusing on, but if you're committed to Overwatch, maybe in the future, if you're feeling frisky, you can try playing with it off, give it a week or two to kind of try and get used to it, and then, see if you like it better, or, if it's just amenable for you and you're just like, okay, I can't play without raw Accel anymore, then, obviously you can stick to it.
Sure.
Okay, what else do we have in the forum? So what was your motivation for picking the game up again? Like, you've been on quite a long break.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't even remember. I hadn't played any games for a while. And then I was just like, I think I might have seen like and I was a Genji main before I picked up Overwatch 1. I think I saw like a Genji montage and it was like really flashy or something. I was like, I haven't played the game in a while. I kind of want to try doing that and just picked it up.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's basically it. I mean, I remember finding it. Yeah, I remember finding Overwatch 1 really, really fun up until they added Brig. And then I started like hating the game. And then I think I watched some reviews of Overwatch 2 and people said like, DPS is like much more fun to play again because like there's 4 squishies and only 1 tank and like less shields and whatnot.
Yes.
And so, I was like, you know what, might as well just, try it, picked it up, and I started actually having a lot of fun with it. And so stuck with it. And yeah.
Okay. But you're just, again, for clarification, you're focused on hit scan. No.
Yeah. Now I'm focused on it.
Okay. Very good. You said your goal is to achieve Grandmaster on DPS at some point. For a top 400 Valorant player, that is not a particularly ambitious goal.
I mean, honestly, I felt like Valorant was just like a really easy game. I didn't feel like I was...
Well, everything is difficult until it gets easy. So, yes, if you're a top 400 Valorant player, the game should start to feel easy. That's the whole point behind getting good.
I mean, I don't know. Overwatch I mean, it's also probably because I had, when I started Valorant, I already had 2,000 hours of CS experience, right? So it's like that kind of game, comes naturally to me.
Yes.
And, there was only like, the 10 characters or whatever, and their abilities are basically just CSGO utility, right?
Yeah.
And so like, for me, that was super intuitive to get into. For me playing Overwatch, like, I have to think so much more about what to do. Like in Valorant, I can just like kind of turn my brain off, take like stupid aim duels and climb. I mean, like that's really what I did. I just like blasted music and ego peaked everything.
Okay.
But in Overwatch, like I have to really focus. I have to think about, the fights I'm taking. I have to think about like, I actually have to think about like the, just like the strategy of what I'm doing, like taking space and whatnot, and time, like cooldown usage, and making sure I'm not burning all my cooldowns and whatnot, and ult economy and stuff like that. Like, so for me, the game is just so much, more complex and overwhelming to me. I feel like Grandmaster is actually like a pretty, up there goal for me.
Okay. We can keep Grandmaster as the goal for now. But you do have to, just for the future, when you do eventually hit GM, kind of think if you really want to keep it at that. Because a lot of people say, oh, I want to hit Grandmaster, but then they're like, oh, actually, you know what? Maybe I want to go a little bit higher.
Yeah, I guess if I hit, GM5, then I'd totally readjust the goal to like GM1 or top 500 or something. But at least for right now, that seems like really, really far off from me.
Well, that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
Now, what else do we have here? So this is the last part, and then we're finally gonna take a look at the gameplay.
All right.
I asked you, why do you think you're not climbing? And you answered, I quote, I think that my aim is fine, but I definitely think my movement could use some work. I also think that I generally lack game sense in the game. I have a pretty basic understanding about space, utility usage, etc., but in cases where my tank doesn't create enough space or I'm not receiving enough support by my healers, I struggle to adapt. So there's two things to unpack there. The first one is about movement. Valorant's and CS's movement is very much incompatible with Overwatch. To the point we're playing both Valorant and Overwatch at the same time, which some crazy motherfuckers actually do, is basically impossible. Because they're just so antithetical. You know, in one game, you have to stand still to be accurate, and in the other game, you have to stay on the move to stay alive. So that's kind of the first thing. It's going to take time to adjust so you can kind of get into the pattern of, you know, AD strafing, crouch spamming, peek shooting repeatedly and at a much faster pace. That's going to take some time to adjust. And once we look at the gameplay, you know, I'm going to get a rough idea of how far off the goal line you are, I guess.
Sure.
And then the second part where you said, you know, in cases where my tank doesn't create enough space or I'm not receiving enough support by my healers, I struggle to adapt. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah. I feel like I worded that poorly. I think that the phrasing of that kind of puts more blame on my teammates. I more mean like, you know, from game to game, like you're gonna have people with different play styles and I guess different ability too. Like, but yeah. So I find that like just for me to like adapt to how my teammates are playing. And I guess especially so if they're playing bad, but yeah, just adapting to how they're playing is pretty difficult for me because I feel, you know, really overwhelmed. I feel like I'm, you know, trying to think about, you know, moving and aiming and utility usage and ultimate economy and space and whatnot, and then to think about also, you know, making sure that I'm staying in Anna's sightline or something.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's pretty difficult for me. And in terms of like the space thing, like I have difficulty struggling I have difficulty when my tank isn't creating enough space or something like that. I feel like most of the games that I lose, it's because I am like not doing well in comparison to their tank, if that makes sense. Like I feel like their tank is making it really difficult for me to get value, whether that be like the tank, you know, literally killing me or like the tank like bullying me out of angles or whatever.
Okay, so to better understand this, I think you need to kind of understand the role of the DPS player. What's your job as a DPS player? How do you contribute to the win?
I guess by like getting kills and putting pressure.
The second part, mainly, yes. Getting kills is nice, but as you climb higher and higher, kills is more of a, you know, side effect of your main win condition, which is applying pressure, right? Wins are a little bit more nuanced there. Mm-hmm. So your job is to create pressure. The reason why creating pressure is important is because the more pressure the enemy team is under, the more likely they are to make mistakes, and the more difficult it is for them to exert pressure on your team. Now, you mentioned, for example, that you have some games where it feels like your healers aren't, you know, giving you quite as much healing as maybe the healers from the previous game did. When your team is behind in pressure, so let's say you're like just consistently underperforming, you know, you want to play like a GM player, but you just You're underperforming and you're playing like a master player, right? In that case, your team is always going to be behind on tempo. Your team is always going to be under more pressure than the enemy team, which means that your healers, they can only heal so many people, right? And they have a choice. They can either heal you, right? And then you have the feeling like you're getting a lot of work done, but your teammates are feeling. Or your healers support the rest of your team, and you're the one who drew the short straw, in which case it feels to you like, oh, I'm not getting enough healing, I can't do anything. But neither of those is really optimal, right? Ultimately, the root cause is just that your team as a whole, including you, is not able to exert enough pressure to give your team, a tempo advantage overall, right? And the same thing is also with space. How much space your tank can actually create depends on how much space the enemy team is willing to give up. And the enemy team is not going to give up space unless you pressure them into doing so. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So whenever it feels like you're not getting enough space or you're not getting enough healing, that's not necessarily always a teammate issue, because your job as like a high-level DPS player is to make the game feel easy for your teammates. If I take an Overwatch League level DPS and I put him into a Masters lobby, and then I ask the other players in that game, who were on his team, did that game feel hard or easy? Like, they're all going to say that game felt really easy. It felt like they didn't even really need to do anything, right? And that's the kind of player that you want to be, because a good player is always going to make his teammates look better than a bad player. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, perfect. Then we are basically right on schedule to take a look at some gameplay. If you have a code for me.
Alrighty. I do. Do you care if it's like a win or a loss, or
ideally a close loss,
okay,
or a loss in general that you think you performed well in, like good enough to where you think you should have won that game, basically.
Sure. The only thing is, I have a close win, but I feel like I really struggle on Junkertown, and it's the only Junkertown map I have in my history. Let's see. Do I have anything? Actually, I'll do this one. Okay. This one I felt like I was performing pretty well, but I also kind of felt like I was stuck. Like I didn't really know what to do.
Okay. Let me start my screen share. Discord screen share in 2023, by the way, is still ass. So I apologize in advance.
All good.
There we go. I'm assuming you're Dioshi. Oh no, are you on Genji?
Yeah. I think for only... Actually, wait, let me check the...
Are you really sure you want to go over Genji gameplay when you don't actually intend on playing any more Genji?
Yeah, you're right. Let me... Okay, let me... Guess the... Yeah, my career is like all like just hard losses right now, or hard wins, except for this one Junkertown game, I guess. I guess I'll send you the Junkertown one.
Sure. All right. By the way, it's normal that you don't hear any sound. The game is muted because that way I don't have to pause it every single time I want to talk.
Got it.
Okay. Oh, you're a body shot, Andy.
Yeah.
Your gameplay is so ADHD. It's already crazy. Like, you're moving around so much.
Yeah, I don't know. I felt like you're supposed to, I don't know, spam your movement keys.
Yes, but that doesn't mean we should spam our jump key.
Yeah, that's a bad habit.
How much do you jump in Valorant?
Not at all, actually.
So why are you jumping here?
I think because I can get away with it. Like,
but can you? What's the problem with jumping?
Not really, but like in Valorant, if you jump and shoot, you know, your bullets go everywhere. In this game, you know, you die easier, but you can still shoot straight.
Oh, so it's just that you just die easier? Oh yeah, we don't care about that.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I press so many like buttons on my keyboard when I play, and I don't know. I guess I might have ADHD or something like that, but like you can see me spamming the hello thing every couple of seconds.
Yeah. And so,
do you have any recommendations for breaking the habit, or?
Yes. Is your keyboard rotated clockwise or counterclockwise?
It's rotated ever so slightly counterclockwise.
So it's easier for you to reach left alt with your thumb than C?
Yes.
Yes. In that case, you want to bind crouch to left alt.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of having your thumb like spacebar or wherever you have it right now, just put it on your crouch key.
Got it.
Because jumping sucks for multiple reasons. A, it takes away control of your character, right? Like a big part of Overwatch is peek shooting, right? So like going behind cover in between your shots, because that way you can pump out damage while being basically unhittable, right? That's just kind of a fundamental concept in Overwatch. With every character that can peek shoot, you want to peek shoot. Obviously with like Soldier, you can't peek shoot because you need to hold down the button. But with Cassidy, just peek shoot, peek shoot, peek shoot. And then reason number 2 it sucks is it's very, very critical as a DPS that you land headshots because that's where your burst comes from. And this isn't like Valorant where damage sticks. You know, you need to deal burst damage because otherwise it's just going to get healed back up. And if you're jumping, the enemy's heads are constantly moving up and down. And that makes it really, really hard, you know, harder than it is already to land headshots. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, our job as a DPS is to, you know, just apply as much pressure as possible. But the problem is that you're really just not applying that much pressure. Like, you're basically giving up this high ground immediately. You know, like the start is fine. Then right here, you peek really wide. You know, and like all you want to do here is just kind of hide behind the wall and then just kind of peek shoot like this. You know, that's all you want to do. Either the Sigma or, you know, the Zen. But you don't want to be like over here. You know, this is too far. And you jump as well. So you're eating like why are you peeking so wide?
Probably a Valorant habit. CS habit.
Yeah, there's no Ferrari peeking in Overwatch. This is just eating like billions of damage, right? But then the Mercy heals you back up, and you just kind of give up that position like really fast. Like the enemy team hasn't done anything yet to force you off here, right? Like that, like you can, if you're behind, like first of all, if you're behind here, nobody can touch you. You're just safe, right? And like that Zen is really out in the open. That's kind of a free kill. That Ana is really out in the open, right? So you can exert a lot of pressure, and you can potentially even get a pick on the supports without the Sigma or the Mei even being able to see you. You know, and Reaper isn't even in the fight. He's like over here just on a journey. Right? But the moment you give up, that like the moment you fall back here, you know, like your Mercy healed you back up, you're fine. You can go back. But you just give up that high ground and you go all the way back. And now the amount of pressure that you apply is just nothing.
Yeah. Sure.
again, just imagine if we were up here. You know, you could pump out so much damage into the supports. And again, your Ana is right there. She can heal you. Your Mercy is not there. Where the fuck? Oh, she died. But your Mercy was also here, and she could heal you. Right? So, this is a very classic case of both DPS players, you and the Ashe, just falling back and giving up that high ground for free. Like, if you're low HP and your support didn't heal you, then yeah, maybe we need to give that up. But she was healing you, so that you could maintain that position and keep applying pressure.
So, like, in what case should I, like protect my supports and whatnot instead of, like
you
just
protect your supports by pressuring the enemies.
Got it.
Because, again, imagine you were on that high ground, right? You would exert a lot of pressure. The enemy team, like, if you look at it from the enemy's perspective, do you think they would be happy about a Cassidy up there just sniping their supports?
Yeah, definitely not.
So how are they going to respond to that?
By, like, peeling off and going, you know, trying to protect their supports.
Right. And when they're doing that, you know, when they're trying to force you out, who's not going to be under pressure? Your supports.
Got it.
Right? So the more pressure you apply, the more resources and the more enemy attention you draw towards yourself, which means that your supports and your tank have so much more space to work with. But the moment you stop applying pressure, even though your team was still pumping resources into you, right? The Mercy was healing you. She healed you back to full almost instantly. But you gave up that space anyways. That's when the enemy team no longer perceived you as a threat, and they could just roll over your team.
Got it.
And you need to stop with the hello spam. You're not good enough at the game yet to spam hello. Yeah, so here, like, your movement is so ass. Like, look at it. Just look at it from, like, a third-person perspective.
Yeah.
Does that look like top 500 level movement?
No, definitely not. Like, fucking silver movement.
Like, there's honestly, it's kind of a free kill, you know? Like, the enemy supports are just there, you know? But you're just struggling.
Yeah.
And then from a positioning standpoint, is this really a good idea to, like, push this?
No, definitely not.
So how should we position in general? What's like our North Star, our guiding light that we should base our positioning on?
Probably like high ground or like some sort of off angle.
No, it's our tank. Okay. Like, whenever someone asks me, how should I position on this map? Or how should I position on this point? I always answer, I don't fucking know, without knowing where your tank is. Because that's what, like, everything is based on. So, if your tank is here, and you push up those stairs, that's, like, kind of an overextension, right? Why not just play here? Why even go through the, like, it's again another example where you reposition when there was no need to reposition. Like, I want to see why you left this high ground. Or you just left it for no reason. Why not just stay here? You have, like, a health pack. You know, look at that Zen. Ain't he juicy? You know, you can just, like, peek shoot here. You can fuck up that Zen. Oh, he hits you. Doesn't matter. We take the health pack back in action. Or if you're, like, already down here, at least play here, you know? Play behind your tank. Peek around this corner. That's much safer.
For sure.
Oh, I think your dog is having a...
Yeah, can you give me, like, 1 second?
Yeah, all good, all good.
I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Yeah, sorry about that.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
So yeah, this team fight scuffed beyond belief.
Yeah.
Awkward movement, unnecessary repositioning. Like, basically, repositioning means that you're temporarily not shooting stuff because you're moving from A to B. And so we want to minimize the amount of times that we reposition.
Got it.
Yeah, you're jumping so much. Jesus. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Also, your crosshair is like so unstable, you know? Like, you're moving it so much. Like, the enemies aren't moving that much. I think you're dramatically overestimating how mobile the enemies actually are. Like, without a Lucio speed boost, they're not actually moving that fast. Man, you need to stop with the jumping. Oh, you need to stop with the jumping.
Yeah, I might just unbind the key.
So much. Don't unbind it. Just stop doing it. And like, you're always doing these flicks, like from bottom to top. Do you notice that?
Yeah.
Haven't they taught you crosshair placement in Valorant? Why not? Why not just keep it at head level and then go left and right? Like, you have so many dimensions, right? So you're normally it's just the horizontal dimension, but you're adding the vertical dimension, and then you also play with fucking raw Accel. How hard? Yeah. And then you're jumping as well. You're playing the game on hard mode. Might as well play on a fucking trackball or something.
Yeah, you're right.
Like, just looking at your gameplay is stressful. Because you're making the game look so much more fast-paced than it actually is. Like, the game is not... the game isn't actually that fast. Like, obviously, it's faster paced than Valorant. But it's not this fast paced.
Yeah.
You're like, your APM is so high when it really doesn't need to be on Cassidy. Maybe when you're playing like Tracer or Genji, it can get a little hectic. You know, but wait, I'm going to send you a video. Wait. I'm going to send you a video. I'm thinking of a very specific one. Let's see if I can find it. If I can find it. Was it this one? Yeah, it was this one. Okay. This is, you don't have to watch this now. This is your homework. Okay?
Okay.
I want you to watch this video by the Fran. It's called Blizzard Will Nerf Cassidy after this. Which is a pretty wild name. I don't know if they actually nerfed him. And I just want you to watch that video, not now, later, and just compare it with your own. And you're going to just be fucking shell-shocked. You're going to be like, wait, I don't have to like press 10 keys per second to be high level? And again, the
funny thing is, I've watched this video like twice, I think.
Then why are you doing this? It is a really good video. I like how he used the fucking Cass ult to like block the Bastion ult. It's a classic.
Yeah.
But yeah, just what you're doing is very far away from what the Fran is doing.
Yeah.
So yes, just watch it again as a reminder, I guess. Go watch it before you go to bed. Just some nice Defran, let's go do the ASMR. Yeah, this gameplay is making me anxious. Like,
yeah. I think it's a bad habit from Valorant because I liked when my clips looked flashy and, just spamming all my keys and using Roxel. And
do you know what looks flashy? Being in top 500 and making it look easy. When I look at this gameplay, does this look easy? This looks like someone fucking like fighting for his life in Masters. That doesn't look flashy. It looks embarrassing.
Yeah, yeah.
Like if I watched a friend play, he looks bored.
Mm-hmm. Right.
He looks like he's smurfing. This doesn't look like someone who's smurfing. This looks like someone who's just overloaded. You're not making it look easy. You look overwhelmed.
Yeah, yeah, you're right.
See, now we're chilling a little bit. Nice, short break. Man, your crosshair is moving so much. It's wild. Honestly, wait, what? It's really difficult to like tell what sense you have. Like you just wrote 803, which is like considered a really low sense. But this gameplay does not look like 803 because of that fucking raw Accel curve.
Yeah, I think I'm on 4 in this clip.
Okay,
and
I mean that's still considered.
Are you familiar with?
Yeah.
Are you familiar with like Roxel and?
Yeah, I know Roxel. Yeah.
Okay, and like the settings and whatnot.
Yeah.
I have a pretty extreme curve. Do
you have an image?
You know. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think you're gonna like this.
Oh, what the fuck is that game? Dude! That's
in Valorant, it makes it look like I can like aim lock onto people, and that was the whole point of it.
Well, yeah, because in Valorant, like with proper crosshair placement, you usually make very small movements, you know?
Yeah.
So like if you look at the gain curve, you're usually within like that left part. And then like when you make a larger turn, it very quickly goes to like the top speed. But
yeah,
like for you, it's just like in Overwatch, you're basically never going to be at that left part. You're like basically always at that top part.
Mm-hmm.
So your sense is just like it starts at like 7.5, right? Yeah, that's your multiplier. So it starts at 7.5, but you're basically always at like 1.5 almost.
Yeah. I'll disable it and
I mean, you can try disabling it, you can try changing the curve, but honestly getting used to a new curve is just as annoying as getting used to it disabled.
Yeah. So I mean, I've had success, like I've switched off of it and back on before, and it was difficult, but it wasn't that hard. So I think I'll just turn it off for good now.
Yeah. I again, just give it a shot. I would personally recommend it. That curve is I mean, it's a Valorant curve, you know. I'm not hating.
Yeah.
But if you look at like Overwatch raw Accel, I want to Google actually if I can find like Overwatch raw Accel curves.
Oh yeah, I tried searching like Overwatch raw Accel. I tried.
Yeah, look like
this is way too slow.
Like look at this fucking curve where this is like just from Google Images. Like look how like the gain curve is like much like that's kind of what I would expect kind of an Overwatch raw Accel curve to look like.
Yeah.
Where like he peaks.
Multiplier is much lower.
Yeah, the multiplier is so much lower. Like he peaks at like 0.9 and you peak at like 1.45. That is so drastic.
Yeah. I'll definitely turn it on.
But okay, let's finish up this round, and then I'm gonna go to bed because I'm really tired.
All right.
Yeah, this gameplay is exhausting to watch. There's like so much stuff going on.
Yeah, I'm sorry for putting you through so much stress.
Oh no, it's all good. I have seen worse. Don't worry.
That's good.
Because it's still Masters gameplay, you know. Like it's not like you're inexperienced with FPS games. Mm-hmm. It's just Overwatch is such a different game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like so erratic, everything. The movement, your crosshair flying all over the place.
Yeah.
Just keep watching that defend clip and just watch like 30 seconds of the friend and then 30 seconds of you and then 30 seconds of the friend and then 30 seconds of you.
Yeah.
And again, the friend is kind of an extreme example. There are like more, like Wanted, for example, is a lot more ADHD, but like even his gameplay is not this this dramatic. Every single time you jump, there's like a part inside of me that just dies a little bit. Like, I don't know why you dropped from high ground there. It was such a nice position. Why give it up? Like, when you're in a good position, unless the enemy team forces you out of it, why go to low ground and die?
Yeah, you're right.
It's also very stressful for your supports, because if you're constantly changing positions, it's really disorienting for them.
Got it.
But okay, this gameplay is about to end, so do you have any final questions?
Yeah, for my warm-up, I usually do like 45 minutes of your aim trainer, but with headshot only. Would you recommend that I just switch it to the regular, or is headshot only fine?
I would recommend, so if you use it with Cassidy, right? I would recommend turning it off, because usually what you want to do as Cassidy is you want to get into the habit of going for a body shot after a headshot.
Got it.
If you use headshot only, you're going to go for double headshots, which is really unnecessary. Like, if you land a headshot on a squishy, you don't really want to go for a headshot again, because you're just more likely to miss out on the kill. That's basically how Cassidy gets kills. You just fish for headshots, and then you go for a body shot. Or if you're close enough for a nade, you go for a nade plus body shot.
Got it.
Okay. Any other questions?
I think I'm good. Thank you. That was I needed to hear that, because I didn't even realize my gameplay is just fucking, looks like I snorted like 5 Adderall for this fucking game.
Pretty wild. Yeah. Okay. Okay, perfect. Then if you have any more questions, don't forget about the Kochi Pass. One final question. In the forum, I asked, are you fine with your session being uploaded to YouTube? And you said, ask me after the session. So this is me asking.
Yeah, for sure.
Dope. Okay, very nice. Then I'm going to end the